Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So it's like almost Halloween, a few days out, which means we have to do our October wrap up. So we have to give you the top 5 books that we read from 5 to 1. Mandy is probably having a panic attack. So how was your October?
I read 30 books. 17 of those books were 5 stars.
Okay.
I had a month.
You did. Now listen to this. I read 30 books and I had 4 5 stars. And so I had to pull one of my 4.5.
Oh, wow. I had to obviously let go a lot of books, which suck because all of them could have been in my top 5. So it was really hard for me to decide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's do this. We're just going to dive right in. We're going to go from 5 to 1 like we do every month. And I guess I will start with us, or start us out here. So, what are you doing?
I was really off the screen.
Oh.
I was adjusting, and then I just adjusted over.
Okay, go. So book number 5 for me is Shenanigans by Serena Bowen. This is about Charlie and Neil. So this is book number 6 in her Brooklyn series, which is her female hockey team, but it's book number 9 in her Brooklyn Bruisers team. Series. It's the series, a hockey series. So they're both hockey. So she's a female hockey player. He is a male hockey player. Okay, that sounded funny, but he's just a hockey player. So Charlie and Neil wake up one day in Vegas and they are married. And Charlie comes from, she's from low income. Like she doesn't have a lot. She's, never grew up with much, we'll just say. And as a female athletes are not paid as much as men. So it's not like she's making the big NHL bucks that old Neil here is making. Now Neil comes from money. Neil's family owns, like jetliners, like planes, like they build planes. And so, but his uncle owns the majority of the shares in their family. And so what happens is they get married, they leave Vegas immediately because Neil, he's got himself a game. And come to find out, if you get married in Vegas, then you have to stay in Vegas to get the annulment. And so they're kind of stuck. And he finds out that his uncle that owns the majority of the shares of their company no longer owns the majority of shares because his wife, if Neil's married, then the wife gives him the majority shares. Or at least they have 2 votes and everything. So they agree to stay married for 3 months until the next shareholders meeting so that he can make a difference. Because Neil is a cinnamon roll. He's like a total golden retriever and he just wants to make a difference in the world. Like he wants everything recycled and, like all organic. Like he's just one of those guys. So I really did like this one. And you can read it as a standalone because I did. You'll be fine. Okay.
So book number 5, which again, all of this was very, very difficult for me. Book number 5 is Breaking Giants by L.M. Halloran and Halloran. Dang it. So this is about Rose. Rose's parents were famous musicians. They're now deceased. And she has a lot of this girl's packing a lot of trauma and baggage with her. She owns a cafe with her cousin and they do open mic night. And sometimes she likes to sing there and she's really, really good, but she doesn't want to do anything with it. Okay. Well, the lead singer from the band's frontman, Julian, comes in from Breaking Giants and he wants her to sing with, he does open mic night and then they kind of end up talking. And it's kind of like this maybe right person, but wrong time type vibes. And lots of things are complicated. It's really difficult to talk about the book because I don't want to give anything away. Mm-hmm. But both of them have an attraction to each other, but both of them have very complicated things going on. And maybe Julian shouldn't be looking for someone new.
Mm.
But sometimes you can't help how you feel. Really enjoyed this one.
Okay.
A lot.
All right.
I hate ranking in number 5.
I'm sorry.
You're so mean. Why do you make me do this?
The number 5 person is not a loser, right? They're still winning because they made it into the top 5.
I know. So do I get to list off my 17 books that were 5-star reads from October?
No, you can go back and watch the 1 Minute Book Recs and figure that out. Okay. So My number 4. Yeah, horrible. Book number 4 for me was actually a duet. So it's the Tethered Souls and Broken Souls by Miranda Grant. So this is one that I say definitely check triggers. Even if you don't have triggers, I would check the triggers in these books because this is one of the darkest sets of books that I've ever read. But this one is about Micah and Various. This is paranormal, and this is paranormal mafia, basically. So there's 3 different factions. You've got your witches, you've got your werewolves, and then you've got your vampires, and they are all their own little mafia families. And our group belongs to the vampires, or not vampires. Oh my goodness, the witches.
Are you okay?
Nope, not at all. So Micah is our heroine, and she is she's a hired hitman. She is for the witch's family. Mm-hmm. Yep. And Various is the head. Be quiet and listen to the story. Various is the head of the witch families. Like, he is the dawn of the witch families. They get forced into a relationship, into a marriage, and they really hate each other. Like, it is very cruel. They're very cruel to each other. And it is not for the faint of heart, and things, and the whole point is he has to get her pregnant. Like, they need an heir. It's like a breeding, they need an heir, but there's so much more to this. These books are thick. They are very, intertwined. These are some of the darkest books I've ever read. So definitely check triggers, but these are so good. They push the line, even for me. It really does. So, okay. What's your book number 4 for the month?
Well, just one of the random books I picked for this video is of Heartbreak and Harmony by Britt Benson. So this is about Calla, and this is told in flashbacks, so I'm going to try and make sure I don't get mixed up and give away anything I shouldn't be giving away. But Calla is her sister. She's kind of responsible at home. Her mom is sick and had a stroke and is still like kind of recovering, and so it's hard. Like, her mom, she has to kind of be the parent and the breadwinner for right now. And her sister gets this dog that she's not super happy about. And so she's out walking her sister's dog, and her sister named the dog Torrin King, who is a famous musician in a band. And she's screaming at the dog because it gets away from her. You know, there's like a scuffle, and Torrin just happens to be there and thinks she's like this crazed fan hollering for him. But that's not what's happening. But anyway, so this is kind of like their meet cute situation. Mm-hmm. And then he's in this band, and their lead singer has this stalker, and the two of them have been together on and off, and there's rumors they're back together, and now the stalker has ramped up. So they propose that he needs to pretend to be having a relationship to bring somebody on tour with them, so this will die down, and hopefully the stalker situation will, like, they can figure out who it is and keep this person, the singer, safe. So he had this connection with Calla. So he asks for her to be the person. And so they get her to agree, even though she actually doesn't like Torrin, because that was not their meet cute. They've already met, and she does not like him at all. But because of her mom's situation, she agrees because it's a lot of money. And so she goes on the road with them.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Very good.
Okay. So book number 3 for me is Beautiful Fiend, and this is by Lola King. This is the first book in her North Shore series. So this one is Definite Enemies to Lovers. This is about Billy and Caden. So the North Shore group, like this area of this town, is very run down, and it's where the poor kids live. And within that, there are a few different gang factions, and the Kings are one, and which is what Caden is a part of the King gang. His dad is the leader of that one. And then Billy's dad and sister run their gang. And so I think it's the Wolves. The Kings are the Wolves. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. There's 2 different gangs. They fight. And so at the beginning of the book, which is in the prologue, there is a big fight that breaks out between the two gangs. And when Billy is trying to flee the place where they're at to get away from all of this, she's actually taken by Caden and his buddies, and Caden forces a situation on her and videos it, so it looks like she's actually enjoying the situation, and then he uses that as blackmail. So I think we're 2 years later, and she's been dealing with the trauma of what he did to her. And Caden pulls her, and he gets her to come onto his territory, or she goes to his territory, and he grabs her, and he's like, well, now you're here, and I have this blackmail, and if you don't want me to show your dad, which, you know, would actually end up in your death, because that's how serious they take their gang situation, then you're going to run these drugs for me. And so she doesn't have much of a choice, but he kind of becomes like this obsessive stalker crazy. Really good. I'm not even doing a good job of explaining it, but it is good. It's so good. So I loved it, obviously. Yeah. Audio just came out for it. It was good.
Stuff you listen to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Book number 3.
My next one is Saving Rain by Kelsey Kingsley. And this is about Rain and Soldier. And so you've probably heard me talk about this book before. It is incredibly emotionally heartbreaking, and I really feel like it should have been called Saving Soldier. But, you know, anyway. So Soldier is born to a teen mom who is a drug addict, and his grandparents end up raising him until their tragic passing, and he has to go live with his mom, who is still a drug addict, when he's about 13. And he ends up doing things that he doesn't want to do, but to make sure like the electricity stays on and that there's food and that sort of stuff, because his mom's not capable of doing any of this, which leads to a pretty significant consequence. And then we fast forward many years later, and he is trying to rebuild his life. And when he runs into Rain, and Rain is kind of in a situation where she does need some help, and he puts himself into the situation a little bit. It is incredibly, like I said, heartbreaking, emotional. There's romantic suspense to it. It was just so good. I loved it.
Okay.
Obviously, because
this is your top 5. Yeah. Okay. Book number 2 for me was Dying to Love by Reese Rivers. This is a post-apocalyptic why choose romance. It was recommended to us by someone who we were hanging out with when we were in Canada at the signing. And I'm so glad I stopped and picked this up from her, because it was just that good. So this is about Kelsey. When the zombies rose and the world ended, Kelsey and her 4 friends, which were 2 couples, so she was the only singleton in the group. They escaped, and the 2 guys that were a part of these couples were like IT tech gurus. And so what they ended up doing was they built themselves a compound. They went and broke into like the RV store when like everybody abandoned it because of the thing, and they just drove themselves some 5th wheels and some RVs out of there, like some really big ones that I'd be jealous of. And they've got this compound, they've got chickens, like they have got this set up. There's even like a doubled wall situation, so that, and all these triggers, so that they know when if there's a zombie that comes around. Well, now it's been like 400 days. And it's been over a year that she's been on her own. So the friends are no longer there. Her best friend is no longer there, but she is still talking to her best friend, like she is there. So her best friend is gone. She's still seeing her best friend. She knows that it's like a mirage, like it's not real. Please don't hit me this time. She knows that I'm real. I'm real. You can, ow! So she barely touched you. I can't even feel that part of my body. Just a gut reaction. Okay, so she knows that her best friend is gone, and she knows that she's seeing her, not necessarily her ghost, it's just in her own head, but she's really starting to lose her mind because she hasn't talked to another individual in over a year. She hasn't seen another individual in over a year. And so then one night, as she's having a hen party with the hens that they actually have, someone comes through, or the barricade is like triggered, and she knows that someone's trying to come through, and it's these 5 guys, so these 4 guys with their buddy who is very, very sick, and they're just trying to find a safe place, and then it just goes from there. I loved it so much. It really touched on that whole mental health thing, that she was alone for so long, and what does that do to you? What does that do to a person? Like, don't leave me. Please don't, please don't ever leave me.
For just a couple hours. Yeah. So I would not have done well in that situation.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is also post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 2 is The Surviving Earth Chronicles, Skies of Fire by Lindsay Pogue, and Waves of Fury by Kay Webster. I couldn't decide.
Okay, I know. Okay. It's okay.
Too much.
Okay.
So this is a shared world that they both wrote. And in this world, like, there was a meteorite that hit the moon and threw it off its axis, about 50 years ago. So they've been living in this chaos, and this is all they've known because they were born after this happened. So this chaos has been happening on Earth, and now Mother Nature is kind of like really amped up her stuff. And so in Skies of Fire, we have a lot of volcanoes happening in Texas, and so you have Ava and Nox, and they don't like each other, but they end up stuck together somehow. Got to read the book to find out why. And they're trying to make their way out of Texas to find some safety. And let's just say Mother Nature is not the thing that you need to be most concerned about in post-apocalyptic times. And then in Waves of Fury, we have Kellen, who is Nox's brother. He is in San Francisco. A tsunami comes right as the food delivery guy gets there with a sandwich, and he's at the top of the high rise. And so he's yelling at Tyler about, like, you're late, my sandwich is cold, da 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 da. And this tsunami comes. And so they're trapped at the top of this high rise together with a few other people that work for Kellen. And again, Mother Nature, like, Kay Webster has no fury. Or he'll have no fury like Kay Webster writing a post-apocalyptic book, because no one is safe. Like, things
that's what
get
I love about
really, really crazy and intense as they also are trying to make their way, like, just away from the ocean, basically, and trying to figure out where to go. And people are definitely not safe there at all. I really enjoyed both of these. 5 stars.
I think that's part of the reason why I like post-apocalyptic so much, is you don't know who's safe. Like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anybody could get killed off. I love it. Just don't kill my main characters or my friend.
It was really good.
Okay. So keeping with this post-apocalyptic crazy theme, I have a dystopian for my number 1. So my top read of the month is Born for Silk by Nikki Harris. I love this so much. This is Aster and Rome's story. So this is a world that's set obviously in the future. We have destroyed the world due to, like, global warming and pollution, all the good stuff that really is bad out there. And we've kind of genetically modified humans to be bigger. And there's some people that have taken to it and some that haven't. So we do have the humans as well. And so that's where we get Rome. He is the king of this land. And he is like 7 feet tall. He's like huge. And then you have Aster. And they talk about their purpose a lot in this story, because this is a dystopian society. So everybody's been told that you have to fulfill your great purpose, and your great purpose is what you've been bred into. So if your dad was a baker, then you're going to be a baker, because that's how that works, right? That is your purpose within their world. And so for Aster, she has been bred to be a silk girl. Her mother was a silk girl. The way you are a silk girl is if you've been a silk girl and your parent mother was a silk girl. I think it's like more than one generation had to be a silk girl, and they've never had a miscarriage, because silk girls are basically walking wombs for the elite. And this is very Handmaid's Tale. She even says it's Handmaid's Tale dystopia. There's something else that she kind of mixed it with, but very Handmaid's Tale. So if you like that kind of thing, you're going to love this. The first few chapters are more world building. We do see a lot of it, but I felt there was some of the world building where it took me a hot minute to get into it, but that's just because that's how my brain works. It's not the book. It's just me. Loved it so much. So their idea is that they want to, all the silk girls are trained to love the king, and they want to be the silk girl of the king, but only one can be the silk girl of the king. The rest are just getting shipped off to God knows where, to these other elites. But Aster and Rome have a meet cute, and there's something between them, and he's not nice to her, but he's nicer to her than he is the other one. So, loved it so much. Like, I am doing it a disservice. I know I am, but it's good. Just trust me. Just trust me. It's my number 1. Duh. What's your number 1?
Okay, so my number 1, even though I had all these great reads, my number 1 I knew was going to be my number 1. It was just so different from what I've read lately. I just loved it so much. So it's Shattered Dreams by Natasha Madison. And we have Autumn and Charlie. And Charlie's girlfriend is Autumn's best friend. And there is a situation, and she gets killed. And everyone blames Autumn, like, including Charlie. And now we're going to fast forward like 8 years later. And Charlie's dad is really sick. So she comes back to town to try and help take over their distillery and, be with her dad during these times and help her brother. Because the distillery has not done well because of her, not because of the perception of her in this whole situation. It's a small town type of thing. So she comes back to try and revive it as well. And we have Charlie, who is not happy that she's back. But guess what? This is their romance story. Yeah. Just that blurb, like, I was like, wait, how do you make this work? How do you make this work? It's 8 years and he has not moved on. Like, how do you make this work? And oh my gosh, I just loved it so much. So different from what I normally read. So that's what I'm going to tell you. Go give it a try. I loved it. It's top read of the month.
Yeah.
And I read some really good books this month.
Yeah, she had a lot of arcs and alks.
I did.
You did. She had a good month.
All right. Month was amazing.
Yeah, that was a good
November. You better come for me. Come on.
All right,
and
guys.
I hope your November is stronger.
I do too, because that was really pitiful.
I want you to be in agony.
I'm never in agony. I always know who my top five are.
No, I want it to happen though. I want you to not be able to pick.
She's wishing agony on me.
I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, guys. So that was our top for October.
Yes. So leave us a comment. Let us know how your October went. What was your favorite read of the month? You know, tell us all the things in the comments, and make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us. And I don't think I told you at the beginning of the video to hit that notification button. So make sure you do that as well.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.